So hi. I know I'll be, but I'm Jaden, and I was the summer of 2020 Pathways student this year. And the theme of my summer project was intergenerational connections in Camrose. And so this photo was taken right on the street here. And so the idea for my project came upon commuting to school one day, and I've rode and commuted this road for 4 years now, and I was very oblivious to many of my surroundings, usually rushing to school. And one day I sort of slowed down and actually looked at what I was driving by, and I realized how close in proximity it was actually this courtyard I always looked at. So I had my names on, but it was Memory Lane. I looked and realized how close it was to the kids' campus daycare, and began to wonder if they've ever interacted, or how interesting it was how close together they were. And so that's sort of where the idea came from for this project. Well, and that's where I met Cindy. I was directed to Cindy from Kids Campus, and so I'd reached out to her in November, and I sort of explained the idea I had, and she, to my surprise, they sort of had an existing connection with Kids Campus already. But it was something Cindy had seen a lot of value in, and then I reached out to Tina, and it was something that they thought it was worth pursuing. And so I was just very excited that someone was also excited, and that would sort of take me in if I was successful. And so from there, I was directed by a professor of mine to the public library, where I met Shannon back in December. And so this summer I've been fortunate to work with Shannon as my mentor at the library, along with the director, Robin, and then the summer students they have, some of which I was friends with. They were some of my classmates, and some of which were new people. So it's been a really interesting summer of having all these different perspectives of students, of directors, of different jobs and organizations and experience. So it's really added to the whole experience. And so like I mentioned, I know, it's adorable. So like I mentioned earlier, this courtyard is a very magical place the more time you spend in it. There's baby deer, there's the rabbits, there's the birds. And Camrose, I've just had family living here my whole life, so I don't consider myself a stranger. But it's a big retirement community, and it's seen as like a transition community for people farming outside of Camrose, and they retire and move into the city here. So the connection to the land here is so significant for this community, and so that's something we wanted to replicate in our summer work. It was this reinforcing and creating these connections to the environment. And so my summer began with Cindy, and we were trying to figure out how to make this courtyard even more enjoyable for the residents, and especially with these physical distancing requirements, where it was a space where the only space at the time where they could be with their family and be with each other outside. And so it was really important that we created a welcoming and exciting space for them and their loved ones to enjoy. And so we spent some time sort of putting the pieces together, like staining and sanding the garden boxes. We whittled some signs one weekend, and so each item was specifically has a purpose out here, whether it's to touch, to look at. Each thing was made very carefully for the space, and that was really important to us. And so after a little while, our garden boxes came together. And with, as I mentioned, Cindy had really expressed to me how important the senses are to these residents. Whether it's they can look from afar or get up close, just knowing that it's their space to be in and to interact with was so important to remind them, like, this is, and Tina mentioned it, I love this wording, it's an extension of their home. This is their space, and I thought that was one of the best ways to put it. And so that's something we wanted to really focus on. And so yeah, this connection to the outdoor space was sort of this on the back burner. It was this theme of our project. How can we reconnect both residents here, and later on you'll see the participants that helped out with the courtyard. How do we connect both of them to their environment again? How do we make the outdoors an exciting place, or remind them of their farming and their gardening in this space for them? And so that was sort of something we wanted to work for, whether for the residents or for the public library users. That was sort of our goal. And so Shannon and Cindy and I both had all sort of talked about this, was if it wasn't for the physical distancing requirements this summer, we don't think we would have come up with the Pen Pals ideas. And Cindy had really expressed to me the one day how for certain individuals this was the best way to promote intergenerational connections. Some residents might be more shy and don't like doing things in large crowds. It gave Cindy a chance to work one-on-one with residents instead of just larger group activities. And so that was an outcome I didn't really think about or expect when it came to this project. Was because of the situation we're living in right now, Pen Pals is sort of a nostalgic feeling for these residents who wrote letters all the time, or still do, or journaled, and so writing was a big part of their lives for a long time, which we sort of moved away from with technology. And so each week when the letters come in, it's surprising how these families and kids are finding topics to talk about or are connecting with these individuals who they've never met before, have never seen in person, but yet they have this common ground with each other, whether it be pet names or 4-H experience or gardening or love of crafts and whatnot. It's really incredible how it took no time. It took one letter to really connect these people. And so that was really important to see that it is possible to connect individuals without being right beside them all the time. And so yeah, what's really surprised me was how the residents in Camrose and rural communities in general are so willing to participate in things, and it's more than just putting money into projects or donating and walking away. They want to help, and they have connections to all these places. So a lot of the individuals who've signed up for our projects this summer, there was a lady who told me she had worked at Bethany before, or some individuals who had family members living here, or it provided a way to create awareness about everyone in Camrose, being like, we've driven by these buildings how many times? Do you know who's living in them? They're just an active member in the community as you are, and everyone plays an important role. So sort of creating that awareness also. And yes, we continued with our I Spy books for the summer, and it was another way for the people who made them to get outside and sort of think about ways that we interact with our outdoor space. And so as they made them, I had sort of sent out a list of items that were in the courtyard and said, here's the plants we have, here's what we see sort of on the daily. Be creative, let's see what we can do for the residents, and it allows them to also interact in that same way. And so we were very fortunate to partner with another wing of the Bethany Group. We were able to partner with Rosalta just down the road here actually. And we worked and we made Bethany Group craft kits. And so these kits were able to be picked up from the library by families. Anyone could come in and they picked them up and they went home and they made the craft, and then they returned back to the library the finished product. And so what was really neat was on the front we had shown the craft, but we had a little write-up about Pathways, about the Bethany Group, and more about memory lane, about where these items are going, who's living here, and how important it is to this community. And this made me cry each time I opened a craft bag. It was the residents who volunteered to pack our kits. We had little name writing things, so as they packed it, they wrote their name on it as, I made this for you, we hope you enjoy it type thing. And so families were able to see, and it's every time I opened it up, a little tear was shed for the handwriting, for the names. Some of them would write little comments on them, so I was ripping open the bags to see who made who. But this was such an important aspect to me, as seeing the people in the community who's behind what we're doing. Like, not only for the residents to be like, here's something I can do to sort of interact with myself in the community, to sort of be like, you're still an active member of Camrose, which feelings of isolation can set in. So this was a way to sort of connect them back with Camrose, but also for the families who open these craft kits, be like, hey, here's some people you've never met before, but might have been here their whole lives, and you've sort of just driven by, or being like, look how excited they are for you to help out their space. And so this was a very important part of the project for me, was letting people know who's behind everything. And of course, I got to test some of our craft kits, and this was very important. And we teased Shannon for like the whole meeting one time about her concrete idea, and we were laughing. I felt bad then, but she came up with this great idea, and it was I had this concern many months back. I'm like, how do we, like, what if no one signs up or no one takes them and they sit there and Shannon and I have to make 50 concrete blocks and be like, yeah, kids made them. Like, yeah, we had so many volunteers. And so it was just, people find a way, whether it's like if someone came and picked it up and they were like, I want to do this for this reason, and someone came in with another reason, everyone finds different ways to connect to their community, and it's different for everyone. And I was just really surprised how people will connect to different projects in different ways, and that was really neat to see with what was brought back to the courtyard. So whether it be as small as painting rocks in your free time, but time is so precious to people, and so it's more than just dropping it off with being like, I'm willing to do this, I'm willing to put in the time to see where this can go and help out, was really an incredible thing to see. So we had a variety of crafts this summer come in, ones that served a purpose, that were easy to make, that reused a lot of material that the library had, and these were the kits that the residents at Rose Alta had put together for us, and we tried making it an enjoyable experience. I said, I don't want it to be work for them, but if they're enjoying it, let me know and I'll keep bringing as much. And that was really important, that it was a fun way for them to interact with their community. I'm like, as soon as it's not enjoyable, I don't have to drop anything else off. I don't want it to be that way. I heard great feedback that it was a great way for them to feel like they were still part of the community and interacting. And so the last few weeks we've spent sort of reminding not only residents of Memory Lane, but also residents that were using the library, how important it is to feel seen in your community. So whether it's knowing that you can see everyone from the courtyard here and feeling safe inside, but also seeing that you're still a part of the community, or whether it's writing little reminders of that, we've just been trying to reinforce this idea of these connections, whether it be intergenerational or connecting residents or connecting Cindy with the people she works with. It was just a nice way to have some little reminders for how important this is, and it's very apparent in rural communities how you can't go anywhere and not see someone you don't know. Like it's very hard to get around that, and so just reminding people that we're thinking of them and that they're thinking of us was really important. And lastly, I've really learned this summer that every community faces a lot of challenges, but rural communities face different ones sometimes. So whether it's younger generations leaving to go find different places or different adventures, or organizations facing the struggles of large chain organizations like large bookstores or ordering offline, it's so incredible that the organizations that have partnered, whether it be Bethany, Kids Campus, the public library, how they're not only good at what they do and they serve their purpose, but they're very talented in many other areas, as they're usually the only one doing that. And so it was really incredible to work with these organizations this summer. So yeah, I really appreciate everything that you guys have done for me, and it's been an incredible summer, and I realized that for all these organizations, it wasn't about trying the right thing, it was trying anything, trying to switch up, trying to try anything new. We hoped it would be the right thing. It was never that we didn't want that, but just trying something new to keep it interesting, to keep the community changing and growing in different areas. So I really appreciate all of you for allowing me to work with you this summer, and it's been very enjoyable. So thank you all. Yeah.
Thank you. I think that was really
that was awesome. Flatter me.